Hi, and welcome everyone to the End of Life Journey and Beyond, the Sands of Time. My name is Lisa Strahs-Lorenc. I'm a bereavement specialist, and it's nice to see you today. Hello, Susan.
So nice to see you, Lisa. We had a little bit of a break. You were away, and
Yes,
it's wonderful to be back together again.
always.
And in today's video, we're talking a little bit about what a funeral celebrant is. And we have a couple different ways to explain to you on what a celebrant is and what they can do for you and your family. But basically, a funeral celebrant is one of the services that I offer, and it's a professional who specializes in conducting funeral ceremonies and memorial services. And unlike a clergy member, a funeral celebrant does not have any religious affiliations or particular beliefs. So instead, our focus is on creating a personalized and meaningful service that honors the life and the values of the deceased, your loved one. So I'm really passionate. This is one of the services that I offer, Lisa, as being passionate in helping people through this process. This is the most overwhelming and challenging time of your life. And I believe, as a legacy specialist and end-of-life doula, that the power of storytelling is so important in honoring a person's life and in a unique and in an individualized way. And that's important for me to relay and transform, the end of life for your loved one because, everybody's so unique. Everybody is individual and unique. And funerals, I believe, should reflect their personality and their values and the impact that their lives had on others. So, as a celebrant, oh, I just love doing this work so much because it helps me to create a ceremony for a family that truly celebrates the life of their loved one, your
Which is
loved
why I
one.
want to jump in really fast. That
Jump
if
in.
I want to jump in and say that a funeral is not the celebration of a death, okay? It is the celebration of a life. And people need to be very focused on the incredible impact of that person's life on others and the stories, as you said, that they tell. When people left my husband's funeral, they said, what a wonderful celebration of his life and things I didn't know about him. And to me, that was exactly what I wanted. I wanted
And that,
people to
right.
get who he was and to have that meaning in them that they were a part
But
of that.
so
So
here we
that's
are,
what you
Lisa,
do.
we're going back to Lisa's personality because thank the Lord you do have that personality. You knew what you wanted the outcome to be then, okay? But most people, when it happens, it's just, it's the end of life for you too. And it's so overwhelming and challenging that they don't know the first thing to do besides go and sit in their seat in the front row and listen. And there's a difference between listening to, I love clergy members. Don't let me think I'm saying anything wrong there, but there's a difference in having a clergy come in and speak for 10 minutes and not knowing your loved one. I attended a funeral recently where they actually pronounced the deceased name wrong, not once, three times during the service. And when I spoke to the director about this, he says, you wouldn't believe how many times this happens. And that broke my heart.
Me
It broke
too.
my heart. So today, Lisa and I want to talk about the value of having a funeral celebrant with you beside this awful, overwhelming time in your life. And after, we just want to touch on why, about having a memorial celebration and what a beautiful way to celebrate your loved one's life, right?
Yes.
So, welcome, Lisa, again. And, this is again part of what we do. We want to offer some value and education on end of life because to me, always knowing before the crisis occurs or knowing beforehand can help you. It helps you to plan properly and make the whole process flow a little bit more smoothly. So, funeral celebrants, just so you know, were qualified individuals and professionals who officiate funeral services. We usually have a non-clergy background and can offer different types of services, any kind of services, depending on your family's preference and your loved one's personality. We can help organize, we help conduct the funeral and the whole order of services that and provide support to your whole family during the process. We work closely with your family and transform this time into a ceremony that really is personal and reflects the personality of your loved one. So we don't only guide you beforehand, but during the day of the service, making sure that it's not rushed, in a 10-minute ceremony and everybody leaves thereafter. I want to engage your family and friends. I want to bring them through your whole loved one's life. Who were they? Let's celebrate who they were and what they meant to us. And I want to help you express your emotions on that day in a meaningful way. And you can do this. So by choosing a celebrant, right, you have this kind of freedom, all right, to do particular things in your service or not. Again, depending on your family beliefs. So I go and sit when I get a call, I go and sit with a family, and this could be between 2 and 3 hours. A funeral director said to me the other day, "Boy, isn't that a long time?" I says, "Not one time has it ever been a long time." Because believe it or not, when I sit with families, I don't I don't get tears and I don't get anger. It's almost it's comforting and it's consoling to all sit in the living room around the coffee table or around a table and talk about their loved one as if he's still here and say, "Oh, remember this and remember that." And then the daughter remembers something and the nephew or the grandson remembers something. And all of this goes like this. And I record it. This is how I do my legacy books, right? Lisa knows it's a 4-week project that I go to the person's house here on Long Island and I record all of our conversations and weave it into the story of your life. So I take that experience and I record our conversation. And then I come home and I build the most beautiful eulogy. And I do the order of services for you. So by then, after those 3 hours, I know quite a lot about your loved one. And I know whether he was a fisherman and loved the sea, and I have poems and readings and prayers, and I can include everyone in your family to speak or no one. I recently did a service where none of the family wanted to speak except for one grandson who wanted to play a little song on his guitar. Okay, and that's okay too. It's whatever you want and it's designed your way. And I understand the importance after of building a rich ceremony because after losing 14 people in my life, where if you've listened to some of our videos before, you'll know the tragic events that I went through. And after that, I thought about this for a long time, and this was all within a 2-year period. And I thought, boy, how is anybody expected to just move on when you have somebody come in, say a quick prayer and leave, and after this 2-hour wait, we're expected to go home and move on with our lives. And to me, that's not celebrating the life of your loved one. If I had known 9 years ago what I know now, my husband's funeral would have been so much different. Now, as a writer, I I did write his eulogy. But guess what? Of all that I do now, Lisa, and you know the things I do, guess what?
What?
Couldn't read it.
Oh,
I could not read it. I wrote it and it was absolutely beautiful and it encapsulated his life, but I couldn't read it. So it was at the very last minute on that morning that I asked my niece if she'd get up there and read it for me. And she did. Thank goodness, right? But I know how overwhelming and hard that this can be. So having that help and support and guidance, and I want you to think of it, and I'm not making light of this, and I'm sorry I'm talking so much here, Lisa, you're next here,
that's all
but
right.
but I want you to think of it as, some people want a wedding planner when they get married.
Right.
They don't want to plan soup to nuts and all the things that go in between making it a beautiful service. Okay. And think of it as a travel agent who there's people who just don't know where to go, what to do, and they want to see everything in Venice. How do I do that? They go on tours now and they have someone to guide and help navigate now. And that's what a funeral celebrant can do for you. We help you navigate from beginning to end to make it the most beautiful ceremony for your loved one,
Correct.
right?
Correct. Yep. Yep.
Okay, so I'll
So
briefly.
I'll tell you my choice of a funeral officiant, a celebrant. So my choice was someone who did our 25th wedding anniversary and who we'd been in touch with, especially when he got sick. So she came to visit a few times. She was a universalist, non-religious individual. And she worked with us as he was very sick and all. And then we talked about how she would do the funeral. And he was part of that because he knew that she would do that. And we spoke quite a lot about what we both wanted in that funeral.
So he got to
And
take part in that conversation, Lisa?
he
Oh, I
did
love
take part
that.
in that conversation. He
Oh,
did.
wow. Okay.
He said obviously he wanted friends to talk and to contribute whatever they wanted to say, which I did. And he said to talk about our lives together, and again, she knew about our beginning lives and how we met in Syracuse, and she knew about the kids, and she knew about what we had done in our lives. So he was really sort of part of that, as much as he could be at that time. He was really sick. So the funeral was such a celebration of him and everything that he did in his life and everybody who he impacted and the people who stood up. It was so beautiful and it was so meaningful. Um, just people left saying exactly what I said to you. This was such a wonderful celebration. It didn't feel like a funeral. And to me, that was the best compliment I could have received. I did write a eulogy. I did read it. I don't usually read things, but I read it because I want to make sure I got everything in there. My cousin sang one of the songs that he really loved. And then people, stood up and, I encouraged them to tell stories. It was beautiful and it was meaningful. I do want to say that I understand that religion has a lot to do with death and that some people need that religious
Of
part.
course.
We
Of course, and
didn't.
we could do that. We could do
Yes,
that for you.
yes, yes. Again, it wasn't meaningful to us, but it is meaningful to others. So those choices. But the thing is, it's so important as you do to sit down and get to know the family, to sit
Yeah.
down and get to know who that person really was and the impact they made in their lives. This
Their
is
their
and the
achievements
achievements.
and their
Yes,
stories. And these are the important, along with, the comedy. My husband was so, so funny. But yet, you want to incorporate some of that because everybody in that room knows the person that they're coming to see the service. And
yes.
if they know he was a funny man, well, let's bring that through. I did a service where he loved harp music, believe it or not, harp and classical music. We got a harpist in there. One of my biggest regrets, and I know I've noted this in a couple of the videos that we did, Lisa, and it's silly, but my husband was not a big drinker. He drank Heineken. He loved his Heineken. I don't think there was never a Heineken in my refrigerator. Okay. And everybody knew that about Big Jim. He loved his Heineken. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to bring shot glasses on trays of Heineken and have the girls bring them out and everybody could do a toast at his service. I really wanted this, but I was afraid to ask.
Mm.
I was afraid because alcohol and it happened to be in the chapel behind the funeral home where I did the service. And I didn't think it was appropriate, I guess. And I thought they'd say no, and I'd be embarrassed for wanting to bring alcohol in.
Mm.
Do you know that's a big regret I have about that service? I wish I did that for his service. And I've come to find out in doing what I do now that you can bring and do anything you want at the service. It's your loved one's service, and we can design this for you.
I want to talk about
So,
funny. I want to talk
yeah,
about funny because you should not feel like this is not the time for funny. Okay. So we used to take kids all the time in our RV, and we used to go to all kinds of camping adventures and whatever. Now, he was a lawyer. And so he used to have the family sign a non-disclosure agreement, and he used to have them sign some medical indemnification. So if the kid got hurt, nobody would sue us. I mean, we'd have all these forms that everybody had to sign. And that's, and that's what we did all those years, taking all these kids. So one guy, the father of one of these kids that we got up and said, "Okay, Fred, what do we have to sign today in our agreements?" And everybody loved it. Everybody just thought this was so him. And it was just such a great opportunity for us to all just embrace who he was and what he did. It was such a great feeling. And that's the
yeah,
thing. You're talking about making it personal. You're talking about making it meaningful. You're talking about making it really resonate with everyone. Well, that's what you do. And an
yeah,
officiant who is a good one brings that out in everyone.
that's right.
It's
That's right.
beautiful, beautiful
So,
feeling.
how do you find an officiant? Well, first you'd contact me if you live on Long Island. Okay, I'm your Long Island girl. But as far as how do you find one, you call local funeral homes. Most of them have an officiant, a celebrant and officiant, by the way, are interchangeable words. I use officiant as a wedding officiant, um, and a funeral celebrant, but some people say funeral officiants. It's the same word, okay? You're helping guide and support that service. So start with your funeral home. You can Google celebrants in your area, of course. There's a website I recently became a part of. It's called funeralwise.com, and there's a directory by state. So you can find celebrants on there. And I'm sure many other websites, but many celebrants have connected with funeral homes. So if you contact one of them, usually they know and they can set you up with somebody. There is an additional fee for that. That's outside of the fee that you pay the funeral director. Different, and it varies by celebrant and by funeral home.
I like asking for people's recommendations as well. There
Oh
have been
yeah,
people who have said, "Oh,
yeah,
this person was wonderful and made it meaningful," and that kind of thing as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
So,
exactly, exactly. So,
yeah,
but and it's a hard thing as well. I'm not saying it's an easy thing to find a celebrant because you do want a celebrant that you connect with.
yes,
And when you
yes,
don't have a lot of time, I mean, if you pre-plan this, it's an easy thing to do. But if it's right after your loved one passes and you know you want to celebrate, you're not working with a lot of
right.
days there,
That's right. That's
right?
right.
So it's a matter of bam, bam, getting the celebrant, having the director give us a call with the information, us contacting you, us making the appointment. Generally, I like to get in within 24 hours when I contact a family. Because I spend a little time with them, but then the creation and the design part happens when I come home, right? So I need another day or so to get all that in place. So we're talking about a few day process before all this happens. And one other thing that I do for my clients, I'm not sure about other celebrants. Uh, I do know of one who does, not sure about all others. But after I'm complete with the eulogy and the order of services and all the particular individual readings, poems, or prayers, or anything else you want to write in there, I have it all written on Word documents that gets emailed to you. So not necessarily a spouse, but maybe another member of the family can open that email and read through piece by piece all the details. And then I have them confirm it with me so that they know what to expect. I'm not bringing the unexpected into the celebration.
Yes, that's
And
great.
Lisa, you're right. It is a life celebration,
It is.
right?
It is. And let's talk about the memorial service. So, after a year in Judaism, there is an unveiling. Oh, the unveiling. Thank you. Of the footstone. And
Yes,
during
that's
that
it.
unveiling, there usually is a ceremony and a luncheon. And that's a wonderful time again. It's been a year to get everybody back together again, to talk about that person again, and again to celebrate. So the luncheon is so nice because everybody's together and talking again, and just being together just has such a warm feeling. So I know that at my mother's, I handed out song sheets and we sang a beautiful song about, from Celine Dion that was very meaningful. Um, and we all sang together. So, you know, again, picking out a place and finding a luncheon thing, and just it's a nice extra to do, especially as I
So,
said, Judaism does it.
so because of Lisa and I both knowing how magical this afterlife celebration can be, this memorial celebration, we've put something together where Lisa and I also guide and support you in your own celebration. So we have a package
We do.
where we, for your particular area, we'll find several venues for you, and we'll let you know the price points. We everything from soup to nuts. So not meaning just the food, but all the little things like the song sheets, or the little favors that you could bring in. And this can happen in a park, on a beach, in a restaurant, in your backyard.
Yes.
So we guide you in putting together this plan. That's the part of it we do. We don't physically come and, hang balloons, so to speak, but we put the whole plan in place for your family to follow through.
And both of us are very detailed people. We're both event planner kind of people, and we love everything in the details. That's what really makes it. That's what makes
Yeah, and we have a lot of fun doing it.
we do.
And should it be that much fun? I don't know, but that's part of what we do, Lisa.
You know what?
We enjoy
It's
it.
the
We
attitude
both
of
enjoy helping other people. That's the
and
thing.
we also understand that it's a celebration. And
Yeah.
so if you focus on that, you know, bringing people together, celebrating that person's life, you know, at any point, whether it's 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is, I mean, that's a way of remembering and
So
always
yeah, leave you on that note that if that's something you've been considering and don't know where to begin, give us a call. Just let's have a conversation about it, because it could be something as far as going, doing something at a balloon festival because your loved one never got to go in that hot air balloon. So you're doing it for them. Anything. We can help you, come up with a theme and use your imagination and come up with the best memorial celebration ever. So that's something that we do.
yes.
And we hope this helped a little bit today, teaching you about what a funeral celebrate is, how you can possibly do a memorial celebration after your loved one passes. All of this is part of your healing process.
Could you
It's part of grieving and healing.
talk a little bit about the work that you've been doing with Pine Lawn, the light ceremony and things like that, because those are all celebrations as well. And you do some really
Yeah,
nice.
Pine Lawn Cemetery, if most of you well, people who live in New York, you'd know Pine Lawn Cemetery, right in the middle of Long Island. They do a lot of grief ceremonies, different outdoor things for families to come and honor their loved one. And they do this, I've been going a couple times a year now. One is a lantern release ceremony that I speak at, and it's around a lake, and the trees are filled with fairy lights, and they sit at all individual little tables with candles all over the place, and they make these lanterns, these homemade lanterns that they put pictures on and write about their loved one or to their loved one. And then after I speak, they call the deceased name up one at a time, and you walk over to a certain place on the lake, and you release your lantern, and it floats across it's absolutely, I get the chills. So I've been really honored to be invited back. I guess I just did my fourth one with them, and it's really an honor to do that celebration with them because it's so meaningful, so meaningful, and I get the chills and it warms me every time. And the other one that I help them do, that I've helped in the past couple years, is the candlelight ceremony, which is in a different part of the cemetery, but this is all trees again with the fairy lights. It's all lit up at night, so it's magical. But it's just rows and rows of chairs. And we after I speak, we talk about, the meaning. I talk about the meaning of light and bringing light into your life with the candles. And there's a big screen TV there. And then um the director will get up and she speaks your loved one's name and their picture comes up on the screen, and the whole family walks up to the podium and they give them candles and a flower, and they walk back to their seats. And all along we have a little orchestra that plays violin and different things, and it's just so beautiful. I can't get over it doing so many of them like that. It just brings tears to my eye. But these celebrations are meaningful, and if you have the opportunity to attend them, please attend them. They're so beautiful, or have one of your own.
And
But either way, go ahead.
yeah,
Go
I'm going to
ahead.
jump in because Yahrzeit is the 1 year anniversary. And in Judaism, every year the Yahrzeit candle is lit for 24 hours on the day of death. It's usually the Hebrew calendar, but that Yahrzeit is a remembrance. And that's something that people do alone to remember that person. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, that's important. So no matter what your religious affiliation is, I may not have been raised that way, but as a celebrant, and I'm hoping that every other celebrant does the types of things that I do, that even if you weren't raised in Buddhism, that you'll do your research before you come to a family's house, and you'll be able to incorporate some of those important traditions and values into their service,
Yes. And the
right?
connection, as you said, the connection with that person is so important. You must feel that that person will do an amazing job in celebrating your loved one's life.
Right.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
Great.
Lisa,
Great.
I think we should leave
Susan.
it on that note.
Yep, we
And
should.
again, if anybody has any questions about anything we talked about today, please reach out to Lisa or I, and we're always here to help.
We are. And Susan, thank you for being the kind of person you are, the giving person, the caring person, and doing this important work because it is just so important for people.
Thank
It's
you,
about
Lisa.
life. That's what it's about. It's about our lives and the
Thank you,
people who
Lisa,
we've
and you
loved.
as well.
Yeah.
And Lisa, by the way, has helped me heal through a lot of my loss because of her passionate belief in celebrating versus grieving alone. It makes a big difference in the way that you grieve,
It
you
does.
know, and your grief going on for 20 years versus a few years of grief, but then a celebration and a thankfulness and a gratefulness that you had the opportunity to be in their life for as long as you did. And I've learned that from you too. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for listening,
Yeah,
and we will see you next week.
we will. Thank you
Bye.
again. Take care.